For centuries after the fall of the Old Kingdom, Egypt was torn apart by warlords. This was the first intermediate period, a dark age defined by fractured, warring regional factions fighting over a broken empire. Then, around the year 2055 BCE, a powerful new ruler from the south emerged to violently shatter this era of chaos. Striking out from his stronghold in Thebes, Mentuhotep II systematically crushed the rival kings of Lower Egypt, reunifying the land under a single crown for the first time in generations. To solidify his rule, he claimed he was restoring Ma'at, the Egyptian principle of universal truth and order. He established Thebes as the religious and political center of this restored balance. Mentuhotep II transformed a geography of war into a functioning state, establishing the political stability that would sustain Egypt for the next 4 centuries. The Middle Kingdom pharaohs realized that maintaining order required more than just divinity. They began portraying themselves as shepherds of the people, emphasizing their practical responsibility for the population's justice and welfare. But a shepherd king needs direct control. For centuries, local governors called nomarchs had run their territories like personal kingdoms. Pharaoh Amenemhat I systematically stripped that autonomy away, pulling all administrative power back into the central throne. To manage this centralized state, the throne established a massive, highly structured professional bureaucracy, replacing local lords with state-appointed officials. This created a new social tier, a middle class of educated scribes and skilled craftsmen. These weren't just laborers, they were the essential workforce who managed the tax records, grain stores, and legal codes that kept the kingdom operational. During this era, the strength of the monarchy was no longer measured by the size of a pyramid, but by the efficiency of its administration and the stability of its social order. Under the 12th dynasty, this administrative efficiency was weaponized for expansion. Senusret III pushed the military deep into Nubia, seizing control of trade routes that secured a steady flow of gold, ivory, and ebony. To hold these gains, the state commissioned massive defensive engineering. They constructed stone fortresses like Buhen directly on the water's edge, creating permanent military outposts to monitor and control the southern border. This was a militarized occupation. Relief carvings show the reality of this expansion, foreign captives bound and subjugated to ensure the security of Egyptian resources. While the military expanded the borders, state engineers transformed the interior. They launched massive irrigation projects in the Fayum region, reclaiming land to turn the Nile's flood cycles into a reliable engine for grain production. By combining aggressive border control with highly managed agriculture, Egypt transitioned into a wealthy, self-sufficient regional superpower. This focus on reality reached the royal workshops. Statues moved away from the flawless, unaging faces of the Old Kingdom, instead showing pharaohs with sunken eyes and serious, burdened expressions that reflected the human weight of their office. Literature followed this shift toward the personal. In what became the classical age of Egyptian writing, stories like the Tale of Sunahi explored human emotions, loyalty, fear, and the pain of exile, rather than just religious dogma. This humanization eventually changed the afterlife itself. The rise of the Osiris cult moved the focus of religion toward a god who had suffered, died, and been reborn, making his kingdom accessible to everyone. For the first time, immortality was no longer a royal monopoly. Commoners used coffin texts, detailed instructions painted inside their wooden coffins, to navigate the trials of the underworld. This democratization of eternity became the Middle Kingdom's most radical shift, establishing the belief that a prosperous afterlife was a right for any citizen who lived a just life. This balance of Ma'at relied on a strong central authority. Around 1800 BCE, that authority began to erode under a succession of short-lived, weak pharaohs. As the throne weakened, the bureaucracy fractured. Power leaked from the central government back to regional leaders. Internal division left the borders vulnerable. The wealthy Nile Delta was left unguarded against foreign groups migrating from the east. These groups, including the Hyksos, eventually seized the north. By 1650 BCE, the centralized state collapsed, starting the Second Intermediate Period. Although the state fractured, the era's innovations endured. It established a professional administrative class, a humanized monarchy, and accessible religious rights, standards that every future dynasty would seek to reclaim.